Hello, everybody. In my series of videos on the Def Jam 5 for New York game, in this one video, I'm going to try to maybe do where I can do maybe help a little bit better on explaining the controls and maybe even, do where y'all can co-witness what buttons I'm pressing as I'm doing the moves and stuff. But, because sadly, in the story mode, the only time you really say get a tutorial is at the very beginning, and they don't really give you much on the controls other than what buttons are for, like hitting, kicking to grab, how to throw your opponent in a particular direction. Just they give you some stuff how to like kind of get started, but they don't really give you enough to really say put your best foot forward. And unfortunately, in the main menu, there's really no way to get a practice match or tutorial in the main menu. Now, the I know I, that it's for some I get it. It's annoying, especially when you're just starting out, because they don't really give you much to work with at and all, and you're kind of having to learn on your own on a lot of stuff. Now in story mode, though, they do have this whole answering machine thing where the certain characters will leave you messages throughout the story mode, but sometimes they'll kind of give you little messages that kind of gives you like little tips and stuff, which there's a few things that like on like the like one of the audio messages you'll get is from the trainer, if I'm remembering right, talking about environmental attacks. But at that point, I feel like majority of people will have already figured that out. But like though they do have like two different messages on here talking about reversing countering, which I'll get back to this reverse seeing grapples here in a minute. But here's one for weapons. But basically, he he's talking about how to. He's more or less talking about addressing an opponent who has a weapon, which is he recommends running or countering the attacks from from the opponent and ultimately getting the weapon that way. Here's the first message about countering and or reversing. On here, they are saying to press and hold the block button, and at the same time moving your thumbstick, your left thumbstick, towards your opponent, and which with reversing countering, it's going to be a timing thing where you got to try to time it at the last possible second, but they don't really tell you the way they got it worded is kind of confusing there because like they don't tell you what thumbstick or even or anything like that. They just said toward your opponent. But keep in mind, they said they're referencing the block button and the thumbstick towards your opponent in that particular message. But on this one here about reversing grapples, they're telling you to pretty much hit one of your attack buttons. Like if you're on Xbox, it'll be Y and or X for your strikes buttons. But on PlayStation, it'll be triangle and square. But I just, from my perspective, that's kind of not only a little confusing, but it's kind of sending out mixed signals and contradicting as well. Because it's like it can leave a person asking, well, which one is it? And all. But I'm gonna try to get where I can. Work this way. I'm gonna try to work this well. Maybe I can. Now, pardon me. I'm gonna try to work this where I can maybe get as much info as I can packed into this video and all. Now, on I can't remember what button it was on PlayStation, but on Xbox, you press this clear looking button here, and it'll allow you to swap between which opponent you're going to be focused on. And of course, you see this little meter underneath my health bar that has the yellow filling. If if you see how with my times, if you do just right early on in the match, you can actually use that to help build your blazing meter up quicker with very little to no effort. But it works better if you had already done some moves and stuff. But being that I already done the part I needed on to show how to swap at least on Xbox, I'm gonna just get that guy out of the way. But now on this other part, like in some of the fighting venues, they'll have speakers and there'll be a glass bottle on said speaker. In this case, it's a newspaper stand, and to grab it, you can just walk up to it and grab it, or in the case you got your opponent, hang on, it's to where you can grab them and then you can, if you're close enough, you can kind of act. If you're close, once you grab your opponent, if you're close enough, you can actually, as if you're gonna throw them into the thing, but into the, in this case, the newspaper stand. But if the glass bottle's there, instead of throwing them into the newspaper stand, you instead grab the bottle and hit them over the head like I just did. Now, the next, now the first hidden weapon is going to be over here on in the first hidden weapon, or first, second, whatever you want to call it. It's going to be over here on this vending machine. It's going to be where one of the hidden weapons is at on top. Hang on, let me. Kind of hard to do when you're having to do multiple controllers. But see that pipe up top of the vending machine? That's one of the weapons considered to be hidden. And now to do where you can use the vending machine without throwing your opponent onto it, you grab them. So towards the once you grab them, you'll be in the between the opponent and the vending machine or wall. You grab the opponent, and then while having your thumbstick towards the vending, you'll hit A again. Now, now to pick up a weapon that's on the ground, you'll kind of want to get where you're hovering over the weapon, and then in this case, if you're on original Xbox, you'll press A. If you're on PlayStation, it'll be the X button. Which, if which unfortunately I ain't got a PlayStation 2 controller for reference, but I do got a PS4 controller. It's basically it's essentially the same layout. It's just the buttons are labeled different. That's really all it is the buttons are labeled different. Now, aside from the this clear button and the darker button circles here on the side, and the pause and back button being off to this side, and overall shape of the controller, the biggest difference between the PS2 controller and the original Xbox controller, you don't have these top buttons here, like what would be like the R, what would be R1 and L1 on the PlayStation, RB and LB on the 360s. It doesn't have those top two bulky buttons on top. But anyway, like I was saying, you that's how you would grab the weapon off the ground. But to drop it again, you'll pretty much hit your bottom button here, and then you can also see how that's kind of instantly giving my guys some more taunts, you know, taunt build up. Here's how you do your blazing. You just flick your right thumbstick, which you'll pretty much already know, from the beginning, since the at the start of story. If you do the story mode, you'll pretty much already know if that is if you do. It's pretty much not hard to figure out on how to do your blazing, but right here where I'm at is going to be another hidden weapon. So you grab them, but this will be an easy way to. Now, of course, you can do one on one. It'll be better to do like one on one if you're wanting to like practice, but I don't really feel like that's it should count for a win or a loss. Which or it's a if it'll be an easy win really because there's no way to lose unless in cases like this. But to now if you have like submissions, basically you'll want to press and hold the left trigger down and A, and to let go of your opponent, you press the A button. But basically, like you'll want to press and hold the left trigger, grab them, and the Y or triangle button, and then if you're doing the submissions, you'll want to mash on these top three buttons here, because if you hit the bottom button there on you'll ultimately let go of your opponent if you're doing a submission. However, if you're in a submission, then it won't matter. The point is to get out of it. Then you can, in that case, you can hit all the buttons there. Now, of course, for a heavy hit, press and hold the left trigger, and then hit in this case the Y button. It'll be triangle on PlayStation, and then of course for your heavy kick, for your heavy kick, same thing. Press and hold left trigger, and hit your left button here for your strong kick. Now, now to do like a strong move, well, in this case I got kickboxing, so it's just gonna be me being able to kick him a lot. But to do grapples, you press A, any direction on the D-pad or thumbstick, but that's pretty much how you do kind of do to for your punches, kicks, grappling, and all that. Now, to of course, to throw your opponent into like say a wall or whatever, you'll just grab them and then you'll want to with your thumbstick in any direction, you'll just throw them in that direction. But see, that's how the taunts kind of help you in all ultimately, depending on how much you've done fighting wise, it'll. But and then of course to block, you'll pretty much hit your right trigger to block. Now to on the one reversing for that they was talking about, you want to hit your right trigger and your thumbstick at the same time. And that's what they're meaning on the one message. You know, they for like striking, but if your opponent's striking you'll want to wait for the last possible second to do that right trigger and thumbstick towards the opponent to according to that one message. But then on the grappling, they're telling everybody to use like say the pretty much the one of these top over here, this top or left buttons here basically if they're doing grappling, which to like I said that to me that's conflicting, confusing, and kind of leaves the person kind of in a bad spot because the okay that yeah they may have been somewhat specific, but that okay like how is that supposed to help you if you're not really sure which way they're wanting. But yeah, sadly they uh they got out of the menu stuff, main menu stuff. They don't really give you the options cause, to really do say a practice mode or because well, here's where you'll do your music stuff. Here's going to be your high scores, credits, extras, which pretty much doesn't really give you a whole lot there. Then of course the spot where you would get where you can unlock anything that you hadn't unlocked yet. So aside from story mode during that one tutorial match, they don't really give you much to go on. The only way to really say practice, other than straight up gameplay against a computer or friend, is to create a dummy account, do one on one, and of course and do like that where the opponent's not being controlled and you can practice your controls. But that to me that takes the fun out of it. But thank y'all for watching, and hopefully I'm hoping that this video helped out with clearing up some of the controls and stuff. Thank y'all for watching again, and have a good rest of your day or evening, night, whatever time it is at your location, and see y'all next go around.